Oh, okay. Yo, it's me, Palco, and welcome to my garden guide. We're breaking down post-rework Garen, why he's actually better than people think, every rune and item I use, and how to swap playstyles depending on the game. Let's into this one, gang. So Riot's goal with the rework was to make Garen a real bruiser, and honestly, they kinda nailed it. His E cooldown now scales down to 6 seconds, which means he's not just a which means he's not just a one-shot crit Fortnite player anymore. Because his E80 ratio got buffed multiple times, you can build 80 bruiser items and still melt people while staying alive long enough to spin again. The more 80 you build, the harder every rotation hits, and the better Conqueror feels. You're constantly stacking adaptive force while dishing consistent damage. Old Garen was basically a burst assassin. You'd full commit, maybe delete one guy, then sit on a 100-second ult cooldown doing nothing. I guess when you get fed with crit, you could still fight, but now most of your power is in E, not R. You can spin twice in a fight, maybe 3 times late game. They also buffed his W damage reduction scaling, so you actually survive long enough to do that. Sure, they nerfed the ult damage, but who cares when you're shredding like a Beyblade on steroids? He does near crit level damage while being tanky as hell and having ability haste for days. First up, we got the classic Conqueror. There's 3 main versions depending on the matchup. You got Conk and Resolve, so that you can go some early game sustain rune like Second Wind or Bone Plating. Then you have Conqueror and Sorcery, and that gives you the option to go Nimbus Cloak or Axiom Arcanist. Nimbus Cloak can be really good versus range champions where you still want to have Conk damage, but you still want to catch up to them. And Axiom Arcanist is really good for scaling up to the level 6 all-in if you're playing a matchup where you can't really do much until level 6. And for your minor shards, just go flat HP if you think the matchup's going to be really dicey early, and if it's going to be a scaling matchup where you just farm until level 6, preferably with Axiom, then go the scaling HP. Conqueror overall as a rune is really good for early game skirmishes and fights in top lane if you're playing against a matchup where you get outscaled or you want to punish the enemy for playing something that's weak early. Then you can often find solo kills, things like Camille or whatever. You don't want to just farm versus her for free. Conqueror also scales like not too bad these days. Since your E cooldown is so low, you can usually keep it stacked up at a fight, so it's not even that bad later in the game too. Alright, so getting into Spellbook. Spellbook's my new answer to range top. After autopiloting Phase Rush forever, I realized I was getting 0 value. Like, how are you supposed to hit them to proc it? Spellbook fixes that. For a lot of range top matchups, the difference isn't what keystone you have, but if you can get to Stridebreaker. If you're able to get to Stridebreaker, you're able to close the gap very consistently versus a lot of range champions because it's got a big range and it speeds you up and slows them down. Here's the rune page you should go on Spellbook every single time. You get free boots for the Stridebreaker timing, Biscuit for sustain, and Cosmic Insight for more flash TP uptime. The reason why this rune page is so good is because it gives you so many tools to sustain. You can swap to heal, barrier, exhaust, and you're able to stay alive in some of the worst matchups. Need extra health to sustain in lane when you're getting poked out? Swap to heal. Is there going to be a skirmish in the jungle that you need to rotate too soon? Swap to Ghost. You're going to need exhaust to win the all-in? Swap to exhaust. I know it can be really intimidating to start using Spellbook, but I promise you it's as simple as swapping to what feels right in the moment. It helps you weak side, strong side, it's incredibly versatile, and it will get you to your Stridebreaker with the most amount of CS compared to any other rune you can take. The only difficult part is swapping to unique summoner spells to get the 6 out of 6 unique summoner spells used to be lower CD for the next swap, but it's pretty easy to use your first 4. I think the strongest summoners to go early are Heal and Exhaust if you're weak side and losing lane, or you can go Ghost and Ignite to be more aggressive if you have a chance to win. Just remember to always swap the Spellbook summoner to one of your summoners that's already on cooldown, otherwise you will overlap it and lose the ability to use Flash or Teleport. This is why I like Teleport with Spellbook, because it's easy to put it on cooldown for a swap. Phase Rush is still good, it's just niche now. Great for those uninteractive lanes or when you need to survive certain things like Darius. It's your escape tool and it's also a proxy enabler. Once you've got points in E and maybe Tiamat, you can start nuking waves, stealing camps, and hitting insane CS numbers in really low interaction lanes. It's just not as dominant early, but it's still worth it in the right matchups. After you clear a wave behind the tower, you can also get a timer to roam around the map since you already did your homework, which was clearing the wave. To make a quick note on phase rush runes, the same runes that you would go secondary for Conqueror are also the same in phase rush. Here's a quick cheat sheet of who I take what against. Full matchup breakdowns will come in separate free videos, so hit that sub and bell to stay updated. Feel free to go back and pause the video if you want to copy anything down. Most Garen players autopilot Doran's shield, but I think Doran's blade can secretly be like super broken sometimes. After the EAD ratio buffs, that plus 10 AD is massive. Doran's blade can be a scaling starter item, and it can also be an early game starter item if you're able to utilize Conk and Resolve with it. However, Doran's shield is still good, at least you just have the option to pick between the two instead of autopiloting the same item every game. The rest of the itemization is pretty simple. Always go Stridebreaker first every game since it transforms you into a real champion. Then you can branch into two paths, Bruiser Garen and Crit Garen. The core build isn't 100% solid though. You can go Phantom Dancer second with the Bruiser build if you want to catch up to champions that are really fast for the extra move speed. And you can also go Serpent's Fang versus champions with lots of shields, or if they build Eclipse and they also have shields, then it's really good versus that. The rest of the items here are situational, but they're all really good, especially after you finish your core build path. To wrap it all up, the main question you'd probably be asking after the item build has been shown, where would I be using this build? When would I be using it? So let's get into that. If you're trying to figure out what to build, you need to ask yourself what the win con is in that given game. If the enemy team comp looks like something like this, it's going to be very difficult for me to navigate around a 5v5 situation. They have Jarvan to wall me off, Nautilus to knock me up with an airborne and I can't W that, and plenty of other ranged goodies for me to enjoy. I solve this problem by going into side lane and trying to do as much damage as I can to anyone who shows up. I'll one-shot them before their team can come, and then I'll try and take the tower, and I'll always pay attention to the map. Basically, just split push, and you build as many damage items as you need to accomplish this, so that you don't have to ever interact in a 5v5 scenario. However, if your team has things like this, then you have more options. If you have a Nautilus to engage, or you have a Jhin W, or you have a Zyra to root someone, it's going to really go a long way in making it so that you're not the one who has to engage first. Because if Garen has to engage first, he's going to be miserable. To sum it up, the Bruiser build is better when you have a team that can engage for you, or if the enemy team has very few ways of stopping you from running at them. So if you have, you know, any kind of way of actually sticking on people in teamfights, Bruiser is very nice. Otherwise, you should just split push and try and dive them with crits. Alright, yo, thanks for watching, Gardeners. I'll be making matchup guides for every single top lane champ, all free. Comment which one you want next, and I'll prioritize it by likes. Appreciate you all, and good luck out there on the Rift.